Hello, my name is Isolise, or Caffeine and Misery, and today, with the release of Set 5 being on last Friday, as of recording, I have not actually a brand new deck because my case hasn't come in, but some cards. I was able to pick up some cards to upgrade probably my favorite deck of Standard. Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon. And this is an Encore style deck that focuses on multi-attacks. And it's also the one I probably know the best of everything in place. So let's go ahead. Let's go into the couple of upgrades I made, the couple of changes. And let's start. As you can see from the ride line that I am holding, I am on the original Zorga ride line. Rancor Chain, who once per turn you can Soul Blast 1, draw 2, and then you either discard an order or discard 2 cards. It's a deck that needs to help you digging through orders, and obviously, because I'm also on the Black Tears Husk Dragon, which will recur in order from drop, I'm on the order build. So I'm really hoping when I go through this, you guys will like it. And of course, the Vanguard, Flagship Dragon, Flagburg Dragon. It's a single skill that has a lot of fucking words on it. And when he attacks for 1 counterblast, you get a list of skills that apply based on the number of attacks this turn. So I got a little bit of a cold. So if there's 3 attacks if he's at least the 3rd attack, you'll draw a card. If he's at least the 4th attack, you'll retire 2 of your opponent's rear cards. It says on this one that your opponent chooses. That's actually an error. And I just never replaced my SPs. And for 5 or more attacks, Flagburg will gain an additional 10k power, and your opponent will have to throw away 3 cards from hand if they choose to guard from hand. Which, because you'll be able to remove their intercepts, that would be the only way they can guard. Now this is a very grade 3 heavy deck, along with being really heavy on the orders. So there's not actually a lot of guard. So you are really trying to just end your opponent as fast as possible. And for that, we are on, obviously, the 3 Persona rides. Typically, you're killing either your first grade 3 turn or the turn after. If it's going on longer, you are in a massive grind game, and you're just hoping the amount of cards you're taking from your opponent's hands will do it for you. I'm also on only 3 copies of Inlet Pulse Dragon, the staple of Stoicheia. Inlet Pulse, at the end of the battle, attacked if you're on a Flagburg Vanguard, and it's the first attack of the turn. You Soul Blast 1 to restand him. Really straightforward. And at the end of the turn, as long as there were 4 attacks, you can put him to Soul to draw a card. He recycles resources. He's a multi-attacker. He's what the deck needs. I'm also on a single copy of Imperium Blue Dragon, Shelling Cannon Dragon, who was the original Flagburg promo, who, as long as he's in the center back row, and your opponent's Vanguard is on grade 3, you can counterblast 1. He'll gain 10k and be able to attack from the back row. This is an auto ability at the start of the battle phase, and he also has the goofy ability where if he's in the back row center, he can just move sideways. But only when he's there, so after that, he's just the normal. And that's just so if you're you're not going to be able to counterblast anyways, you want the extra attack, you can just scoot him around, give Flagburg a booster. And then lastly, for grade 3s, we have the upgrade to the deck, Giant Sea Dragon, Boat Pelagic Dragon, I hope I said that right. Who, on place, as long as it's from hand, you can Soul Charge 1, it's a May, so you do not have to. And it's really good because, as for Inlet Pulse and later RX, you're going to be Soul Blasting quite a bit, along with a couple of the orders too, so you're going to need to keep up Soul if you want to attack. And then, once per turn, as long as he's the 1st or 2nd attack of the turn, for either Energy Blast 3 or Counter Blast 1, he can restand with additional 10k. This fixes so much of the deck. You're not relying on hitting specific cards anymore. You have a little bit more freedom in what you can play, because he can either fill the 1st attack or 2nd attack role, depending on what you have access to. And for example, we're on the single grade 2 of the main deck, Tier Knight RX, who at the end of the battle she attacked if you're on a Flagburg Vanguard and just the 2nd attack of the turn. For 1 singular Soul Blast, she restands with an additional 5k. very short, very sweet, very simple, very effective. And like I said, she was the only grade 2, so let's move on to the grade 1s. For rearguards, first I'm on 2 copies of Battle Siren and Eltheria, who on place from hand, energy charges 2, so you're building up your energy. That way you can keep making sure you have the resources to use him if you end up needing the extra draw. And then at the start of the battle phase, for 1 Soul Blast, as long as you have a Tear Dragon Vanguard, so she's also playable in Maelstrom, you just select one of your rearguards, and every time it attacks that turn, it gains 5k. This is a skill that she gives it. Technically, you can give it to the Vanguard too if you really wanted to, but that would only be an extra 5k on him. That's not that helpful. I'm also on 2 copies of the other upgrade to the deck, like Sound of Surging Brave Shooter. This is the Stoicheia version of the new cycle that searches out new grade 3s. The way she works is you discard her and return 2 cards from Solar Drop to the Ride deck to check the top 7 cards of your deck and add a grade 3 with a different name from your Vanguard to hand. And then if you didn't find anything, you can just put her back in hand, try again. As long as you have the 2 cards, obviously. And then when put on Guardian, and she gets an additional 5k if you have 4 cards in drop, not very hard for this order build. And then if your opponent has a G-Zone by binding a grade 3 from Drop or Soul, she becomes a 20k guard. So she's extra guard base. She's a nice 10k guard if you already have all the resources you need. And she replaces, she gets even bigger against G-Decks. She searches out your combo pieces like your Inlet Pulse, your Furion Blue Dragon, and your Boat Pelagic Dragons. And lastly, for the grade 1 rear guards, I am on 3 copies of Prize Trident, who has the very simple ability of during the battle phase, when one of your units attacks, as long as it's the 5th battle of the turn, he can go to Soul to countercharge 1. He's just a good booster who turns into resources. That's all he needs to be. And then, obviously, it's Vanguard. I'm on 4 Sentinels. I'm not using the Sanctitude in this deck because I am on Blitz orders on top of the Sentinels. And speaking of orders, let's go ahead and get into those. So, I have a lot of grade 1 or grade 3 rearguards that I need to be seeing in the deck. So, I am on Forbidal Surrogate as my Regardless piece, which when you play it, you can search your deck or drop for 2 grade 3 rearguards with different names from each other and call them. I'm also on 1 copy of Commander Death Restraint, which will either get you back in order you need or call one of your rearguards and drop. All it is a mill 1, which makes sure you'll still maintain big enough drop so that she is 10k guard instead. I'm on 2 copies of Gathered Upon Me and Wandering Souls, which gives your Vanguard an additional drive for discarding an order. It's really good with Flagburg, especially with the Guard Restrict, because a lot of times people will see the Guard Restrict, they'll just say, whatever, it's only 2 checks, you'll likely only see 1 crit. This forces your opponent to respect it a little bit more, make them decide to throw away more cards. And like I said, I'm on Blitz orders. I'm on 2 copies of Fine Drink of Abolishment for Sins, which for a Soul Blast, you draw a card and give your Vanguard or whatever you speak attacked 5k for every order and drop, which means this does cap at 25 because I'm on a total of 5 different orders. That's including itself. So you'd have to have another copy and drop array. And the last order I'm on is 2 copies of Mythiarch Habitat, which searches the top 7 cards of your deck for a rearguard to call, or itself. Again, straightforward. You have a lot of combo pieces you need to be seeing in your deck, so I've put in a number of digging to make sure you are seeing them. And then lastly, let's go ahead and talk about my trigger lineup. I am on 8 criticals. You're trying to apply as much pressure as you can. So as much as you can do, as much as you can force your opponent to respect the guard restrict, you want to be. 3 draw triggers, you're only getting attack past your Vanguard swing with the front row if you have your Shelling Cannon Dragon, because that'll be one of your early attacks before the swing, so you can have a full column post drive checks. And that's not consistent enough, in my opinion, to justify doing fronts instead. The draws get you more hand advantage, help you see your combo pieces also. Obviously, for regular heals, the effect heals are, as I keep saying, I don't think they're that good. I used to run them a lot more, but as of right now, I don't think they're worth playing. And then, for my OT of choice, is I'm not actually on the Storkia Blessed Favor, though that is a very good, very valid option to play. I am actually on Spiritual King of Bright Sky, Marin Zomblia. And the reason for Marin Zomblia is, with the guard restrict, there is more often your opponent will count, because Flagburg swings, while being 3-card guards, they typically cap at 41. That's honestly not that bad. So a lot of times, if they don't have the perfect card in hand anyways, they'll just throw away like 3 triggers. That way it's a 2 to pass. Marin Zomblia, when checked, after drawing for every open circle your opponent has, will retire all of your opponent's Guardians. So if you have that 6th attack set up already, if you have that, you can put the 100 million there. Marin Zomblia wipes their Guardians, so they're still taking the Flagburg hit. Or you're just drawing a bunch of extra cards, seeing more combo pieces for the next turn, because with Flagburg's skill, you're always guaranteed that this is draw 2, because you're always removing 2 rear guards, and then you're obviously just getting 1 from it being an overtrigger. But this is my Flagburg list for BT-05 for Divine's Omniscient Awakening. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is my favorite deck of all time. I'm pretty sure for Standard, if we ever get an actual Angel Feather deck, that will change, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, you know, it's YouTube, you do all that bullshit. And I will see you guys next week. Ciao.